So Mother's Day in Britain.
Yes. So
You celebrated it. I saw the cuppa. You guys shared a cuppa.
Yes.
Mother's
I was a little
Day.
nervous, honestly, because my mum likes things just so, and particularly with food. And America has not won her over on food, so taking her for
Wait. This coming from Northern Ireland, America has not won her over on the food.
So
Where the hell are you taking her?
Tell you.
well, maybe I need some suggestions. Part of the problem is that where we live, there's not
It's
a
Italian.
great range of choice. She lives in the capital city, albeit probably the smallest capital in Europe, and so there's such good choice of food, and there really is. We eat well when we're there. I have wanted to go to the Plaza for high tea with Sophia for years, and so I decided to book the Plaza for Mother's Day, and I was a wee bit nervous that it wouldn't get the muster that my mum would like, but she ranted and raved about
Blown
it.
away.
The best one was a macaroon with caviar.
Mm.
I have never had anything like that in my life,
Sweet
and it was
and
divine.
crunch.
It's so fancy.
It was very fancy. It was lovely.
It is
delicious.
fun. I'm not a tea drinker, but it's fun. It's a good experience.
Yeah. Really.
And it's like multi-course. They're all similar, but like you just get little tastes along the way.
Sandwiches, scones, French pastries.
Meanwhile, I took my father-in-law and Samuel, my son, out to, was it DeLuca's?
Del Frisco's.
Del Frisco's.
For steak.
For a steak.
Oh, for
The boys
steak,
went
yeah.
for steak
Yeah.
and we went for high tea.
We went for
It was a win-win.
For beef, for meat. Arr.
Well, that's definitely a better choice.
All right, guys, episode 4.
All right, guys.
Let's do it.
So listen, episode 4. Hey everyone, welcome to Business Unchained, where entrepreneurs and business owners come together to power up on their journey to greatness. My name is Bobby Masha, owner of many businesses, including my passion, a wealth management firm that specializes in helping entrepreneurs. My life totally changed when I made a conscious decision to design my businesses to run themselves, not me and my time. If you're looking to get unchained from your business, make more money, and have more time, listen to the experiences of other successful entrepreneurs here on Business Unchained.
Bobby Masha is the founder and CEO of Greenridge Wealth Planning. All opinions expressed by Bobby and his guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinion of Greenridge Wealth Planning. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for any financial decisions. Clients of Greenridge Wealth Planning may maintain positions in any securities discussed in this podcast.
All right, man, we're cranking along. Their videos have raised millions of dollars for nonprofits and saved lives. Their work's gone viral and become very successful. They've worked with the likes of Will Ferrell, Ryan Reynolds, Lindsay Lohan, Hugh Jackman, Kate Hudson, Alicia Keys, LL Cool J, and much more. When we're together, we raid our wine rooms and sometimes do more damage than we should. I'd like to introduce my friends, Gillian and Jason Schuler from Awaken Films.
All right. Woo, woo, woo. I have a question. Was that us or are you talking about someone else? That was a good looking, nice sounding.
Listen, you guys are the ones who put it all together.
Sure, we got it. Did
I'm
we get
just,
that right? I don't know.
You know, it's funny. I was listening to a podcast and it was, and Coach Prime was on there, Deion Sanders, and the guy who introed Deion did a great job introing him. And Deion's like, "Yo, man, I'm gonna wake up to that every morning.
Exactly.
That got me
Pump
amped up.
me
I'm
up.
ready to go.
Get my workout on.
I was feeling pretty good there.
It feeds my ego. Something nice."
Right
It was
on.
funny, man. That was a good episode too. You guys are the best. I really appreciate you coming out here. Even more interesting than you guys, I think, is your story. The story about how you guys met, the fact that you guys worked together, the fact that you built a business together off of something that you weren't doing for a lifetime. You actually picked it up as a hobby at first. So, tell us a little bit. I know we just named a bunch of headliners, but before the headliners came, there was a lot of hard work, a lot of grind. Tell us a little bit about the story, man.
Yeah. And I got to say, the whole family business thing, people, give it a knock, and maybe rightly so. It's an interesting adventure. We thankfully, we're husband and wife. We love each other, but we also like each other. So we get along, we enjoy having an adventure together, and we complement each other. So it's sort of dovetailed really nicely. And when it works, it really works. Yeah, but early start was an interesting journey. Do you want to kick it off?
I think you should, because at that time I had a newborn baby or was heavily pregnant. And I don't think my start a new business aspirations were as strong as yours.
Yeah, I was always entrepreneurial, did a bunch of things, more in the trades. I had a couple businesses in the trades. growing up. And then we volunteered for a season of our life and worked with some nonprofits. So there was not much financially going on there, but it was very rewarding work. But I always had this latent desire and hopefully a bit of an aptitude for telling stories. And for me, I'm a hammer. Everything I see is a nail. Video is the storytelling that I wanted to use and I love to use. But didn't have a whole lot of chops there, right? I did a little bit of experience in school, had a couple good mentors. And one day I said to Gillian, I've been saving up for this motorcycle, but I think I'm going to buy a camera. What do you think?
And I can tell you when he suggested the camera, I wholeheartedly got behind him. I was thinking, danger, dead husband, or camera. Go do the camera thing.
Yeah, in our industry, just to wrap it up here, there's sort of two or three tracks, really. One is like get employed, work somewhere. That's not me. Number two is freelance. It's sort of the gig economy, right? You just sort of get a job, repeat, get a job, repeat. And then third is to build something. And from the beginning, I wanted to build something. Wanted a name. I believe name gives purpose. Wanted a name that had, a purpose-driven name for us. So that's where Awakened came from, this idea of opening eyes, opening ears.
Oh, I like it. Okay.
Yeah. And
there was also a strategic part of that. You were thinking,
beginning of the alphabet.
Search engines, even way back then in 2008, wanting to be alphabetically at the beginning.
Yeah. I need the list would be in the A's, hopefully.
I love how she says way back when in 2008.
Wow.
Feels like
it does feel like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
Don't get old, Bobby.
Yeah,
Don't
right.
get old. So anyway, long story short, we officially incorporated about 16 years ago, 2008, as according to this tape, the date of this taping, and it's been a wild ride. We've had a lot of fun. Early days was really just like that freelance side where I was just gigging, but very slowly.
So what were you doing while you were gigging? To earn money, earn an income?
A lot of different stuff, but mostly it was just the gigging. It was just the gigging, like anything I could, things that wouldn't have naturally lined up with me. Shamefully, I tell you, I did a couple of weddings. It's not what I wanted to do in my life. Not
Adam Sandler, the wedding singer,
Exactly.
aka now the wedding videographer.
Exactly.
I
not
love
what
it.
I wanted to do.
It killed your heart a little.
It kind of crushed my soul a little. But hey, you got a family, you got to make ends meet, and did whatever I could. It was always just a stopping point on my journey. I knew that it wasn't where I was going to land, and very quickly, just rounding out the story, we found that I needed a little help. And so we had like an assistant on set and then needed a little more help. And then we had someone full-time, more back in the office, then need a little more help. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I don't have to do every single thing. I don't have to film every frame or edit every image. Need a little more
Carry
help.
every piece of gear.
Yeah, need a little more help.
shoot.
And we're still small, but it's been incredible to see it grow. And I just love what I do.
What was that pivot point that you went from gigging to when did the momentum come? What was what was that turning point for you where you're like, this is no longer a gig. It's actually working. It's a business.
So I would say there's a key time when we still had our feet in two different fields. One, we were working with nonprofits and somewhat volunteering, somewhat youth leading, and one we were trying to get Awakened Films going. And there was this one day that we were taking our youth group to go and volunteer at this health fair. It was like a mental resilience, nutrition, get moving type health fair in New York City. And last minute, I think Jason was like, you know what, I'm just going to bring my camera and we'll film. And so while we were there, our youth were at different booths volunteering. We got the camera and we went and started interviewing people at this health fair. And we made this video and we sent it to the organization thinking this will help them be able to replicate what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a strategy in what you do, but mostly it was just altruistic. Like, they're doing great work. It's something I'm good at, and it would be fun to do this rather than the other stuff. So let's give them a gift, and hopefully they can use it. In those days, there were DVDs and things like that. If they use it as a coaster for their cup, who cares? But we sent them a link, and what happened?
So they actually got in touch with us and basically said, who are you? Why would you spend the time doing this to help our organization? And we said, well, we were there, explained the situation. They said, we want you to come in and meet us. So we headed into the city and we met with the team. And unbeknownst to us, the founder of this organization was actually a major in daytime talk show TV at the time. And he loved what we did. He said, look, we need video marketing. we have a budget. You've proved that you get the heart of our organization. We're going to give you a year-long contract. So we got this, in our fledgling business, we got this year-long contract, and it brought some stability to us. And just out of that, then we got to travel. We got to meet some celebrities and film with them, like Hugh Jackman, you mentioned earlier, Diane Sawyer. And the beautiful thing was we got to meet this nonprofit's corporate sponsors. And those corporate sponsors, knowing that we had the approval of this founder, said, we want you to come and do some work for us. And so this, if I can be so bold, this one act of generosity and sewing into somebody else's vision ended up coming back incredible amounts. And I would say that was the pivotal point, one of the pivotal points that moved us from part-time to full-time.
It's interesting when when your intention is pure like that, how things happen. I mean, we talk a lot about being at the right place at the right time, and luck being some of some of the major components to people's successes, right? It's not how good you are, but sometimes how lucky you are. But the fact that you guys are so true in what you believe and your faith, and you're giving back to this organization, you had no ulterior motive, and it turns into consistent income. And now all of a sudden, the reality of having a business that's not just a gig business, it's producing some income. That's an awesome way to start. Gives you a little bit of relief, right?
Absolutely. We probably get a dozen folks reaching out every month looking for an internship or a job. And I'm sure other companies get even more than that, but it's inundating and it's exhausting. But I meet with a lot of them through phone calls, emails, and also in person. And I remember what it was like to be in that situation and to sort of struggle through and to try to find your way. The answer that I give all of them is like, be a nice person and show up, right? These are two things that not a lot of people do. And if they do, they show up a little late, or they got that edge or whatever. Just be a kind human and show up, do what you say you're going to do, and solve problems. And that is the way we built our business.
Yeah, I mean, and show up means really two things, kind of to your point. It's like not only show up, be on time and be there, but show up and exceed expectations. Because if you're just coming there and you're not showing up, you're underselling your opportunity, right?
Exactly.
Or if you're showing up looking to become the new star, people sense that. They want somebody that is willing to get into the nitty-gritty of it, to serve wherever the need is. And we look for that in our team. You'll catch Jason and I emptying the bins, the garbage cans on occasion when it needs it. And you won't catch me carrying the heavy gear, because clearly I can't. But
don't undersell your strength. Come on.
No, but we really believe in, yes, you might have a key role, but be willing to help out wherever help is needed and be a team. And that really comes from that place of character is more important than talent. Talent only gets you so far, but character can be that next part that takes you from good to great.
Now, do you carry that through the culture it sounds like you carry it through the culture of your business.
100%.
It's many hands make for light work. What are some of the struggles that you guys have found in terms of really keeping that culture consistent? Has everybody bought in, or were there moments where people don't buy in, or what are some of the struggles you have there?
I'm sure every business owner can relate. Not everybody gets what you're doing or why you're doing, or the why behind what you're doing. And that's the culture part. We definitely hire for kind humans, number one, that can also do great things, number two. And it's worked out really well as a general methodology, but there are times when it hasn't worked so well. Mostly, I think, because maybe we just misread, or I suppose you're not your best. You're your best self when you're on your interview, right?
Yeah, it's your first date.
Yes. You're the perfect human when you're on your interview or the first date, and so maybe it wasn't really our fault. We misjudged something, but mostly, I think it works well. And if somebody is good and they're teachable, they can learn the other stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, and no matter what the job is, no matter what the business is, you can learn the other stuff. But the things we're talking about,
you can't teach that. No.
Teachability is huge. And I will say, whenever we're interviewing somebody, that's high in my radar. Is it evident that they have humility? Is it evident that they're teachable and they're hungry to learn? And like I said, not just coming in and wanting to be the star straight off the bat. And I think we're very grateful because we really have an amazing team and that carry that heart.
Yeah, culturally, we also do some things that are probably similar to a lot of businesses. You know, we value our employees, and when we're on shoots, we cover all the meals. We typically do something like Beer Friday and just have a beer in the office, try to close early, get people out of there. So they know we value them, not just for the billable hours. It's important. The lifeblood, the cash flow has to come in because it's going to flow out. We all know that.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But valuing these folks and letting them know that you're good at what you do. We hired you for that, but we also care about you as humans. And it works. I think they all feel cared for and they produce great work.
Yeah. And then I think when, our business is quite seasonal, we have like seasons where it's super duper heavy and really, really busy. And then we have seasons that are lighter. And so where we can build in some equity in those lighter seasons so that when the heavy season comes, everybody knows it's go time and there's, less a feeling of being drained because, we've got some credit in the bank of I don't know, what's the word?
Equity. Yeah.
Yeah, work hard, play hard, kind of take care of them when you're not working so hard.
Yeah.
So when it's time to work hard, they're ready to go.
100%.
Yeah. And listen, I'm sure there's more that we could be doing. We have blind spots, but I think we're getting some things right.
Well, I think you always have to be evolving, right? I mean, we do, similar here, right? I always say there are teachable things and there are things that are not teachable. You can't teach somebody to be a good person, but you could teach somebody how to, work within the functions and the confines of the operations that you're running. And we also try to hire ahead so that this way we're never at full capacity. We're always building to grow. Do you guys find yourselves having the ability to do that given the ebbs and flows of the business? Or like, what do you do to keep them busy outside of adding to the culture and adding to the, the warmth and that soft touch that you guys give in your culture? How do you do to keep them busy and profitable?
I think most folks in our shoes know that when you're at capacity, you're making the most money, at least revenue wise. You're making the most money, but it is draining. You can't stay there. So it's a funny world. In our world, there are a lot of those freelance gig workers. So we can supplement. We have a large pool of talent to pull from to supplement as needed. We have our full-time team that we use first and foremost. But as projects come in, it's a bit variable cost model that we can sort of tap in other talent for these one-off projects. But I think as we've gotten older and we've grown a bit, gotten a little less mom and pop, a little more corporate, somewhat in the areas that need to be. We've learned that very lesson. Like we need to be thinking ahead. Last year was a great year. The year before was a great year. Other than 2020, which we all have our horror stories, it's been a great ride for 16 years. Like we've basically grown pretty much every year.
Apart from 2020.
Exactly. And I think there was one year early on we were about neutral and we just didn't understand the whole like put your foot on the gas and marketing and all the rest.
But I will say there's a bit of push and pull. Like Jason, out of the two of us, he's more the visionary and I am a little less keen on change. And I think that works for us mostly, on occasion not so well, but mostly works for us. And so there is that push and pull on, do we step forward with hiring somebody else or do we step forward and change in the business this way? And that's something that we keep our fingers in the pulse of and, learn to sway with each other. But in terms of what do we do whenever we have those down times? Well, we're a video marketing company, so we invest in video marketing for ourselves.
Yeah, we turn that spotlight onto us. It's like the cobbler whose kids have the worst shoes. There's been many years where we had the worst shoes, and now we just realize it's going to be silent. For us, it's going to be silent. November, December, January is going to be very slow. So we just work on our stuff.
So you make your library of
Yep. We make a lot of content for us. We plan.
Spec work
we do some spec work. We plan about the future. We also give more time off around the holidays. It's a good flow.
So I want to take a couple steps back because you had mentioned before that when you first started You were out there, you were doing some weddings, and then all of a sudden you figured, I need some help doing this, and then I need some help doing that. And I think a lot of business owners, we come into business and we wear a ton of hats, and our first thing is like, how do we succeed? We just need, this tunnel vision, success is at the end, and we're just like, we just need to succeed. We just need to succeed. And then there's a moment where it starts to open up, and you start to get a little bit of a wider lens, and you start to see, all right, where are moments of opportunity for me? How did you know when when was the good time to add new people? How did you know that it was time to grow your team? How did you delegate and take off some of those hats and pass them around? What was what was the environment that you were in when that happened?
Bobby, I've always told myself, first hire needs to be a salesperson. I'm smart enough, just a little bit, smart enough to know that cash flow, that lifeblood, that is the thing that keeps a business alive, especially as a small business. But that's not how it worked out. And even today, we're still trying to solve that. That is one of the areas that we're really focusing on for this year, just to try to solve that side. But it was kind of a sense of, number one, I'm drowning, and my poor wife and my family, they're, not seeing much of me. And to be fair, I didn't do many in the way of weddings, but I was taking whatever I could get. I was doing like event stuff,
and
news stuff.
This guy has, to his credit and detriment, has a propensity towards workaholism. So we were never going to starve. There was never not going to be a roof over our head, but there might have been a bit of absentee husband for a while. And so it was partially that pain point of where, the lack of balance between work and home life pushed us, right?
Yeah, and I think as an entrepreneur who really was a technician in the beginning, right? I'll speak to all the technicians out there that want to take that step to the next level. It's very difficult to change the hat out. You're so busy working in your business, you forget, or that you don't have time to work on your business. And I am just like the rest of them. And it took a long time. I think part of it was fear. What are the things that drive us? Fear, greed. Maybe there's one or two other core things. Part of it was fear. Like, what if I hire this person? I've committed to them, and then there's no money or no work.
Yeah.
I don't want to fire somebody. Or also, like, what? There's less for us. This closed mentality. Like, what if there's only a finite amount?
The squirrel squirreling away all the nuts that are coming. Yep.
Exactly. What if there's not enough? But taking those micro risks, we're not huge risk takers, especially financially. We're more, if you can use the word conservative, like just more savers by nature, and that's helped us. But so we took slow risks, small risks, like a part-timer, one full-time employee, no benefits, just like more of a college age or 20-something person. That's how we started.
So have you shifted your mindset to like abundance, or do you still feel like you're not quite there?
It's getting better. I still work on it. I think you can love Jesus and have a therapist too. And so I'm seeing someone to sort of work through some of that stuff. But in general, I'm seeing it more, not a zero sum, that whole, like, you got to pulse, it's bullshit. You got to pull someone down to get up. We can help each other. We can find a way. And there's, to me, I'm learning the fears aren't the truth. The truth is there's infinite supply out there. You just have to make it. You just have to find it. You just have to vision for it. You have to speak it out. You got to believe it. You got to see it, and you have to put action in.
And I'll say that about Jason. I mentioned earlier, he's a visionary. There are a lot of people out there that have big dreams, but there's a difference between being a dreamer and being a visionary. A visionary has the dream, but turns it into reality. And so, you mentioned about that abundance mindset. We barely get to one milestone, and Jason's already moving towards the next, which
it's kind of a curse.
It is, right?
Like, I don't really celebrate it like I should,
but I love to celebrate. And so, again, that's maybe where
the yin and the yang.
I love to take time to go and celebrate what we've achieved, because you have to sit in the moment for at least a moment to give you that sustenance for the next thing. So you're not just grinding.
It is so important. It is so important because, most entrepreneurs, and I could share this affliction. We're yes men. We say yes to everything. We have goals that we get out to, that we vision, we have this vision of what we want to accomplish. And then when we accomplish it, it's like, yeah, that's what I was supposed to do. What's next?
Exactly. Or
And to have somebody like you,
yes,
to be the yin and yang, I think it's important to have that yin and yang, whether it's a partner or it's a spouse or it's just somebody that you have that is in your
business mentor or
organization
somebody.
or a mentor or a
Yep.
coach or something.
I was just going to add on, and this is kind of my thing. It took long enough to get there that as I'm getting to that next step, I'm interested in the third or fourth or fifth step after that. And I'm already focusing on how do I, whether it's a pivot or it's an adjustment or it's an addition and add on. So getting to that milestone is like, of course I'm going to get there because I'm already thinking about the second, third, or fourth, maybe the fifth thing down the road.
So where are you 10 years from now?
Gillian, why don't you answer that?
That I will pass over to you.
Honestly, I see a big pivot for us towards episodic content, more entertainment style stuff, maybe hooking up with one of the streamers, the large streamers, or even just building an ecosystem around some kind of episodic sitcom idea. We do mostly marketing work, a lot of commercials. We do a lot of corporate storytelling, corporate films, things that help CEOs.
Yeah, so it's not all the big headliner names. You work with
A lot of our
businesses,
stuff-
small businesses.
Exactly. Yep.
No, in
Yep.
fact, the headliner names, that's the
one-offs.
side garnish, and it's very
It's sexy
fun.
to talk about.
It
and
is.
It
Yeah.
is fun and it's awesome.
But
We have
that's
these
not
great
the major
pictures.
team.
Well, it's
and
like a
memories.
verification that you've
there's
kind
some
of
credibility there.
Yeah,
We
exactly. You
have-
made it.
Yeah, Canada calls us. We were their go-to to pick up some of those things, and those are the
ET
times.
Canada, yep.
ET Canada, and those are the fun red carpet moments. But it's not the bricks and mortar of our business. It is commercials. It is storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, we did a commercial that ended up being sort of viral. Well, actually, it was very viral with this actress called Lindsay Lohan. And
I think I've heard of her.
Yeah,
Right?
it turned out really well, and it was a whirlwind experience. It was this existing client that had an idea and had this connection, and ended up flying to Dubai, and then filmed in the studio with her and did some team building stuff with her out in the desert. It was wild.
What was it?
So the commercial was for this company called lawyer.com, and the shtick was she knows and owns that she's had some law issues.
Yep.
And so she embraces it. She was like a spokesperson. And she basically said, if you need a lawyer, you should ask somebody who's maybe had 1, 2, maybe 3 DUIs, and they would know who to talk to. And I recommend lawyer.com, that kind of thing. So it's just talking head. But there was just, she embraced it. She was tongue in cheek. She was fun. She's total pro. I mean, you say action.
Oh, she
snapped to
in her
attention,
heyday, she
right
was
into
great.
it.
Yeah.
You say cut, and she's out of that character back into her zone. But it was amazing. We have some of these experiences where I pinch myself. How could we possibly be here? This is wild. And we have other days that are just total, boring, normal day-to-day stuff. And I still pinch myself because I get to do what I love every day. It's creative, it's techie, it's nerdy, and it's fun. We still tell great stories.
So let's go back to that 10-year vision, because I'd love to know what would be most exciting for you, or what would you look forward to understanding a little bit more about what was going on in that 10-year? Like, what would be, if you were 10 years from now, what would be the most exciting thing that happened, or most interesting thing that you could look back on?
I think it would be, we're still trying to work out what is that bridge to get to that next point. So I think it'll be interesting to look back and see what was that poignant moment that allowed us to make that transition.
Yeah, for me, it's really, we're so focused on marketing and telling other people's stories unto the purpose of it's selling products, millions and millions of products, or raising money, millions and millions of dollars for nonprofits. We work with some amazing nonprofit partners that just need this storytelling to get to the next level for their own organization. And we feel great about that. But there's something about the entertainment side, the dramatic side, the narrative side, even just comedy. That's what I really look forward to is having a body of work, building an ecosystem. A great example is the Apple ecosystem, right? Once you're in it, you can't get out of that thing. And I'm unashamedly an Apple guy.
Well, I mean,
look around the room.
Look around, everything's out there.
Maybe not a fanboy, but we're an Apple shop. We have tons of Macs in our space.
And you can't get out.
And you're never going to leave. And so I'm hoping we can build an ecosystem around some kind of, probably comedy. Honestly, that's what we're sort of tapping into right now. And just build this fun levity, a place where people can plug in and really unplug and just be like, I love it. And they're going to look forward to the next episode. Mm-hmm. They're going to be the ones that are buying the merch. They're going to be the ones that are forcing us to get the access to the large streamer, because we've with the attention and trust of the many.
And does that kind of annuitize your business, or does that
definitely
what is the overarching goal in that mission?
You know, a lot of agencies have repeat clients. Some even have that sort of monthly fee structure. That's the golden goose, the goose that lays the golden egg. But it's not in our world. Video, it's more the one-off projects. Even if you have a client that repeats, it's one-off here and there. So it's almost like we don't have one boss. We have 1,000 bosses.
Yeah.
And every time you finish a project, yay, good job. We love that. But then it's on to the next one and got to find the next one and then produce the next one.
Although to be fair, we'll just say that we have a lot of repeat business.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
in the early days, we didn't advertise for years, and it was really because one client would recommend us to somebody else, and we would get that repeat clientele, or that client would leave and go and work for another company and take us with them.
Yeah, but from a business perspective, we're growing an IP now, right? We have this intellectual property that will have royalties. And that is really the goose that lays the golden egg.
yeah.
Even if it's not a big egg, it is a repeat egg. And it's something that you see reruns happen all the time. It just gets picked up at another place. So absolutely, from a business perspective, that's the main goal. It's something that makes money while you sleep. Not just, I'm going on a vacation, the team will take over, they'll be fine for a week or two, but I'm asleep, I'm retired, the machine still works because it's IP.
What was the driver to that? Is it because you had a project that you loved, that you fell in love with? Is it just because you're trying to figure out how to make your business almost a little bit evergreen?
I think it comes from, early days, very much feeling self-employed and knowing that we were the limit of our business. We were the limit of the financial legacy that we could leave our children, and knowing that there had to be some way to get out of that self-employment mindset. And Jason in particular, I think you've just been percolating on that for decades. And there are moments, I think, that we have where we can really see it. Like this Christmas, we went back to Northern Ireland and we came across this gorgeous old castle, basically.
Yeah.
And Jason started reading up on the history of the castle. There is a story there, and suddenly I could see it.
That's easy a story. We just need maybe 50 million to do that one.
We have to restore the castle first. Get the actors.
But a great story.
Oh my goodness!
So
There's such great stories out
is that
there.
part of the plan? Is it raising money to put something together? Is it being inserted into a project that you connect with other people, or is it crowdfunding?
Either or both.
I've always been a self-made kind of guy. Like I am a DIYer, and if you want something done, give it to a busy person kind of thing.
Right.
So I probably need to reduce the reliance on that strength, and probably will need to raise some money. But to start with, I think we might do some kind of a pilot in the next 3 years. Just self-funded, just a short, maybe a 20-minute episode of something around an idea that has legs, and then test that with the communities out there, just online, maybe not really heavy selling, but just online, test it and see if there's some attention and trust. Yeah. And if we alight on something and that's the ecosystem, then we're going to build it. If not, it's a small number and we move on and find the next one. But probably need to change the mindset to think bigger,
Well, you're the visionary, man. Now it's the time to get it done. She just gave you a whole lot of credit.
Exactly. How am I going to live up to that?
Yes, but I think you'll find amongst entrepreneurs, there's still a wide variety of approaches. As you're finding, you are more of a risk taker. That's why, you've got legs in the financial systems, because you have to take some calculated risks. As Jason mentioned earlier, we've been a little bit slow and steady. We started our business when I was pregnant with our first child. And so there was a certain amount where we were being careful to not, just have stability.
Yeah, slow and steady.
But that can also curtail us, and we're aware of that. So, again, that's the push and pull, not between us, because we're both a little more conservative about learning, to step out and take risks. And, the more success we have, the easier it is to take some of those risks, because we have a bit of a nest egg to fall back on. We've got more wisdom to fall back on.
What's the biggest calculated risk that you've taken to date?
Goodness.
Silence. We bought a building in Madison and built out a studio. So we're in New Jersey. We have a footprint. It's 4,000 square feet. It was a very ugly, old, worn out space when we got it. It had been vacant for 20 years, and now it's fresh. Inside, very modern, very.
I've seen it. It looks awesome.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Outside needs a little help, but it's getting there. I'd say that's probably the biggest financial risk that we took. That was very calculated.
And
It
yet
wasn't really a risk.
I don't really feel as though it was a risk because
Right.
we
We
had been
calculated.
visioning for it for years. We were desperate to get to that state, to that step.
And it
so
also
when
looks.
it happened,
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say it looks exactly like we envisioned.
Yeah.
You know, we just it. I thought of 3 spaces. And, you know, the front was gonna be office, like a retail, but for us it's office. The middle would be more studio, and the back would be warehouse where we could store all the gear. And it's exactly what it is. In fact, it's 4 spaces. But
Yeah.
Has there been any failures in your life that can kind of like you could attribute your conservative nature to? I mean, is there something that
we've never failed actually.
never ever?
how dare you? So that's a twofold question. I can think of some things, different answers.
I would
You go
just
ahead.
say the biggest failure from if I use the word conservative, like a slow and grow,
Yes.
slow burn, the biggest failure would be we've probably had some missed opportunities. And we maybe don't realize how much quicker we could have grown. You know, we had a little pre-interview with Jess before the show and was thinking about some of the questions and the thoughts of where we came from, where we're headed. And this idea that if 10 years on, I could talk to myself, what would I say? I think it would be like, oh, just hit the fast forward, bro. Get past all that stuff. It was all learning experience. And for all of us, we're growing each time we fail. We're growing each time we succeed. We're growing each time it's a neutral outcome.
But I'll give you a specific. There was a time a few years ago, I think around 2021, and an advertising agency came to us and said, we'd like you to bid on creating this commercial for a national food retailer. And we put in our bid. They loved what we were suggesting and our process. And at the end of the day, they said, actually, the client preferred you, but you don't have much on your portfolio to do with food. And we were so gutted.
Yeah.
We were so
it wasn't
gutted.
a financial reason. It wasn't a you're not a good fit reason. They literally said, we like you, they like you, we'd love to move forward, but
They're a little hesitant.
the other folks are going to get the cake.
Yeah, you know, most successful people, when they look at their biggest failures and they mention it, sometimes they come up with something uber specific, but a lot of times it's relative to the lost opportunity cost. It's not something that they
Did
actually
or- yeah,
they
'cause it
don't
was
they don't
growth.
ruminate on
Exactly.
something that they did, and they don't stick with the past. They go like, I got opportunities that I missed, and I'm not going to miss the next one.
So we didn't.
Exactly.
So what we did was in our next slow period, we said, right, we're going to do some spec work around food. We filmed commercials around beer, and we filmed commercials around burgers. And so lo and behold, 2 years later, they come back to us and say, same advertising agency, same national food retailer, retailer. And clearly they weren't happy with the other guys. And they said, have you done anything with food since we last talked to you? And I said, funny
we just
you
so
say
happy.
that. And we showed them what we'd done, and they hired us, and the campaign was a great success. And it was like a yes.
That's awesome. That's a great win.
Yeah.
That's a feather in the cap.
Verification.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on.
So I want to just step back to COVID, because COVID was one of those times where you either some companies, they were made in COVID, and some just never made their way out of it.
100%.
And you guys are notably putting your finger on the calendar, saying that was a tough year. It
was.
How'd you get through it?
April, we lost 80% of our revenue in April of 2020.
Oh, it was
Well, there's no more
terrible.
face-to-face interactions,
We
right?
are
So
face-
Filming,
face-to-face
so much of it is
business.
filming actual people.
Yeah.
And then even actors, there were some things that came down the pike with COVID that, risk-wise, we weren't allowed to do things in certain ways. So we like everything shut down. In-person stuff shut down.
We
as you
had
all
a
know.
lot of corporate clients and nonprofit clients that would have their big conferences and fundraising galas in that season, and that just went away. And we
Vaporized,
learned
yeah.
that contracts meant nothing, and that was a painful lesson. On a team front, we are a creative bunch, so we work together. There's symbiosis. There's building off of each other, and we all had to be remote and apart. And our team found that really hard.
suffered,
Like
yeah.
Zoom video, Google Meets, it's not the same.
where you lose a bit of that. It's not you lose the culture. The culture
Yeah.
changes.
100%. And there was some attrition, just folks couldn't cut it
Yeah.
being remote. Just, some of the younger folks, And also we're all dealing with our own mental illness, emotional anxiety, whatever, besides the fact it's a freaking pandemic.
Yeah, right.
It was rough. So our business changed a lot in that season. And I think one of the learning lessons for me was, I remember the day we decided to work from home. I was like, it'll be 2 weeks, maybe 3. Julie like laughed at me. I was like, 3 max, and we'll be back in. We're doing it. We were like a family, and boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
So how'd you guys pivot to come out of it?
Well, there were opportunities that
There
came
were
out
lots of
it.
opportunities.
So we got calls from Sweden and the Netherlands
They
where
couldn't travel.
They couldn't travel.
We
and
need to
they-
be your hands and feet on the
Yeah.
ground in New Jersey or New York City. So we
Yeah.
were their go-to.
So we picked up some gigs that we would have never touched before. Then, the whole live streaming thing took off.
Yeah.
So
So
we
many
ended-
events they couldn't do in person, but
Yeah.
they still needed to raise money or talk to their 10,000 employees. How are we going to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Live streaming and professional, not just throw up a Zoom camera or like a webcam, but do it
Mm-hmm.
professionally, teleprompted, thought through, nice bumpers, music. And even when we didn't do them live, we were doing pre-recorded live streams. So
Mm-hmm.
creating basically television shows around events that didn't ever happen.
So that helped. And then obviously the work that had been started to come back. I was going to say something else there. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, I'll just pick up, the pivot is real every day, every year. It's just a different pivot.
Yeah.
And for that, it was huge. And we all did it at the same time.
It's not gradual.
It was
you
huge. It
were
was
given quite an
instantaneous.
event that you had to really make a huge adjustment around.
But you know what? We made it through. And, you said, some can make or break you. It did break some companies. And unfortunately, their pain and loss did benefit us in that we gained clients where their production house disappeared during the pandemic, or people took early retirement and said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm,
Yeah, well, I mean, just going back to something that you had said, Jason, and from the sense of people who had to deal with their own psychology of the situation that they were dealt with, or we were all dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
And some people thrive and some people fail, some people succeed and surpass where they were prior to it. And some people just fizzled out and had to pivot and grab a job or figure out their next steps. And it was something completely different.
And I think as well, the fact that we do have somewhat of a conservative nature helped us because, we had a bit of a nest egg.
Yeah,
we
that
kept
helped.
our
We could
staff
sleep at
on, we
night.
committed, we said
Coffers
to
were
our staff,
full.
Yep, coffers are
don't
full.
jump ship. We will give you plenty of notice if
Yep.
this really
Guys, it's gonna
is
be
a
really
problem.
lean in terms of your workload, but we'll do some stuff for us and we'll figure it out together.
Yeah.
Stay healthy. You're part of our family. We're gonna pay you no matter what. So it really it worked out okay. And the other thing is there's opportunity, right? Whenever there's dramatic change in the world, opportunity is right around the corner. And the tide goes out, we see who's sort of naked. But when the tide goes out, you also see whatever's been hidden. And so we made this whole series. Remember the COVID series, the storytelling series for COVID?
Yeah.
We made this whole video series, internal marketing, that really was beautiful and expansive for agencies, nonprofits, corporations, foreign, commercial work. And it really was a way for us to show we could be a leader in this time when it's very uncertain. And if you have a budget or a need, we are definitely the ones to call. At least give us a shot. We should be in that list, if not the ones to call.
We try to fix their problems for them. You have a marketing need. Here's how you can approach it in these times. And we got those videos out there.
Yes, at
I'm
the
sure
end of
that served us.
2020, it wasn't as bad. We definitely were down for the first year ever, but or at least the first year in 10, 15 years. But it wasn't that bad. We ended up like, wow, 2020 was okay.
So, when people get to this moment where they have a little success, they're feeling comfortable about their direction, they feel good about their business and confident that, they've weathered the storm, so to speak, there's usually a moment of reflection. That moment of where you can use that, hindsight is 2020 and say, if I were to go back to myself 20, 15 years ago, what is the most important thing that I've learned that I would pass on to that 20 or 15-year-old younger self of mine? For each one of you, what would be that lesson?
I would say it's okay to hit fast forward. It's okay to risk a bit more. You're young. Things aren't always going to turn out right, but it's a safe place to fail and you'll learn from the failures. We've succeeded. We succeeded 10, 15 years ago. I felt successful early on had a warm bed to sleep in, a full belly, kids were happy and healthy. Like that, I felt like I made it when that happened. And, here we are, we have all these other benefits and joys and pleasures in life. How much more have we made it? But early Jason, perhaps early Gillian, it was like, well, what if, well, I got to be careful. And perhaps we'd be a little further, or at least would have learned some other important lessons if we had hit a little bit of the fast forward button.
Interesting. What about for you, Jill?
Actually quite similar. We started our business in 2008 when the economy tanked here in America. And I think that did give us a bit of confidence, didn't it? That if we can make it here, we can make it anywhere.
Oh, there we go.
And
Do you want to sing that for us?
Not today. And I think as well, it would be to not be quite so conservative, and to, for me, and to continue to trust Jason more. Like we've learned, to not maybe hash things out the same way and like really perseverate over decisions and be like, you know what, you've got to be in it to win it. Let's give it a go. What is the worst that could happen? Is that, can we handle that? Yes. So I think we have gotten faster, but had we learned that a wee bit earlier, I think
we would have grown a lot quicker. Yeah. We'd probably be bigger than we are today. Don't know that we would be better. We've got great lessons under our belt, but it would have been a different journey, probably a little further ahead.
Well, I think a second interview in the future is about the relationship and how people work together, because that's definitely a hit or a fail, right?
We got the good, bad, and the ugly. It definitely can work.
So I just want to expand on one more thing before we kind of wrap it up and tell the audience how to find you. Those were the biggest opportunities that you got to kind of go back and look at yourself. Now, I usually like to ask, and I'm going to ask it a little bit different today. If an alien came and abducted the two of you and took you away and off this earth, and basically the deal was, you can leave three things, whether they're truths, philosophies, material items, three things for your kids or humanity that you can leave behind that are going to be most valuable to you, what would they be?
Gillian.
I think the first is love one another. Love others the way you love yourself. And I think that is relevant in your home life, in your social life, and in your business. If you respect others and you see their potential, no matter where they are, and you see their value, even if it's built on different principles than your own, then not only do you have a more peaceful life, but you're growing together. And I think out of that, I would always say, we had some amazing mentors when we lived in Canada, 20 years ago, and they always said character is more important than gifting. Character is more important than talent. And it really is. The two you have to work on both of them. You have to work on your character. You have to work on your talent. But the process of getting something done, particularly in business, we think that our clients come back to us time and time again, because not only do they get a good product, but they have an enjoyable experience. The process is good. And that's character. Are you looking out for things beyond the end product?
Yeah, I'd say kindness. It's similar to what Gillian said. We hire kindness first. I would love just to leave kindness for the world, that we'd somehow the switch would flip and everybody just would drive on the road. You just slow down, let someone in. I don't do that. I live in Jersey, right? You don't do that in Jersey. If anything, you do the Jersey slide and cut three lanes over.
What are you doing?
Oh, so here we go.
I'm not saying I'm leaving this because I do it. I'm saying I'm leaving this because this is a value. Kindness. Why can't we just be a touch more kind to each other? Generosity, right? And it dovetails with kindness, but giving. It's not all about taking. It's about giving. And sometimes
it's not giving to get.
Sometimes we save our whole life.
Yeah, reciprocity. That's the one thing you have to avoid. If you're going to give, you got to give because you want to give, not because you're expecting something in return, because then it's not giving.
Right. And we wait our whole life because maybe I'll be wealthy enough someday to give. Why not start today with something small, something micro, something that will move a small needle, somebody's needle. It doesn't have to be the world hunger or some other major thing.
No, but even time.
Yeah, 100%. Volunteerism, sharing.
When we do the Christmas event, it's one of the greatest experiences, because you walk away feeling like you participated in something bigger.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you'll never know the extent of what your choices have given other people, but you just have to trust that it makes a difference. What about business legacy?
Well, no, it's not necessarily business, but the last one for me is creativity. There there are so many things possible. And I'm maybe not the biggest visionary person that sort of names it and claims it kind of thing, but I definitely think everything out there exists because somebody had an idea. Someone had a dream. Someone saw it in here or in here first. And then they made a plan and they got some funding and got some people together and got some experts, solve some problems, and now it exists. So I would say creativity. I want to make sure if I'm gone and the aliens did whatever, creativity is left. Like there's so many things that are possible that I will never, ever come up with, but somebody will. Somebody's got that inside them and it needs to come out.
And I'll add to that as well, kind of picking up on something we talked about earlier, is that there's enough room for everybody. That it's not all about competition. And I think if we can, again, look to support each other and not have a bit of healthy competition.
Healthy competition,
is good,
yeah.
Right? We teach that to our kids, but rivalry, unnecessary. And particularly as a woman in business, we talk about that. I think the ceiling has been much harder for women to get in and have a voice in business and to make waves in a good way in business, that it's fueled at times that rivalry. But there's enough room for all of us. And when we work together, and I don't mean to sound as though I'm about to do a pageant, but when we work together, the ship rises, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
The tide
totally.
comes in, all the ships go.
Yeah, somebody else's ceiling can be our floor and we build from there.
Well, because there's always good, there was always good tidbits of knowledge or information that once you start to share, you will come back to your creativity. It sparks that creativity,
100%.
and then
That's
something
synergy.
even better comes out of it, rather than staying isolated in your own little section. And I don't want this is competition. We can't talk. We
Right.
can't be friendly. It's
Synergy's real.
Yeah.
It really is. The 1+1 is not 2, it's 3, 4,
Yeah.
5.
And mentorship. One of my favorite speakers and leaders is a guy called Bill Johnson out in California. And I remember years ago, I mentioned it earlier, he said, "May my ceiling be your floor to build on." And that really stuck with me. It's hard sometimes to find mentors,
Absolutely.
but looking for ways to invest into others, whether it's that symbiosis and we're shoulder to shoulder, or it's investing into others.
and that's a whole nother level of like stripping away the ego, because the ego is definitely something that gets in the way from being able to do that.
Yeah, because I may never get there, but if I don't give you the tools and my knowledge to get there, then it might not happen, or it might take a whole lot longer until the world can benefit from that, whether it be a material thing that we get to enjoy or it be something more altruistic.
Well, I love this, guys. I really appreciate you coming down. I mean, we're running through these episodes here, getting some great content,
awesome,
and
man.
you guys are definitely valuable in my life. You're definitely valuable in what you do and who you service, and the communities that you're involved in. And I just think you're fantastic people, and I really appreciate your time here.
Thank you, brother.
Real quick before we go, though, how do people find you?
So awakenedfilms.com, that's past tense and plural, Awakened Films. That's our website. And we're also on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn. Feel free to follow, share, like, subscribe. No, we don't subscribe. We're on YouTube Vimeo. We're on all
Smash that like button.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe. No, but seriously, even if any of the listeners just have some questions, I honestly mean it. You're just curious about how to get to the next step with some marketing, video. I'm not looking for a job or a gig. Just reach out.
Yeah, I mean,
Email.
you guys do fantastic work. You've done some work for me. We'll do some work again. I've seen the videos that you've done for products. Amazing. That the shorts that you've done on your site are fantastic. And I love the fact that you even act in your own as,
Gillian is the full package.
Well, that's a wrap, guys. Thank you again.
Pleasure. Well done. Bravo, man.